What's up, man? How are you? Yeah, man. Good, man. Good. Like usual, everybody's now in their respective places. So Miles Miles is in the bed, Gwen is at the computer, hustling, doing work, and I'm with you. Yes, indeed. I had the what comes to mind first is I had the terrific opportunity of sitting on a career and leadership panel last weekend for this Daniel Leadership Institute and a church in DC, no, it's Silver Spring, called Jesus House DC. And it's a Nigerian based church, but open to everyone. And I sat on the panel, and the panel was about an hour and a half. And then afterwards, I mean, people were so inspired that like they were just waiting in line to talk to some of the panelists. And I stayed for an hour and a half to talk to those people because one, I knew they were in need, and two, I knew I had something to give them. And that was just out of me loving what I'm called to do, which is help create leaders, and also love for my people and them being in need. And so there was no way that I could just leave them in their moment of need, and in me having something to give them as well. So I do that because I love it and because I'm supposed to do it. Oh, clearly. Mm, gosh, that's a great point you just brought up about your love increasing when you found your purpose. But when I wasn't living my purpose, um, wow. I think I when I wasn't sure of it exactly, um, I think my love was unfocused. I would say, and I think that I was dispersing it versus focusing in on the right things to love and the right things to attach to my life. Um, and I think you could, equate it to, love sowing wild oats, if you will, but it was just dispersed and it wasn't focused. It didn't have its target yet. It didn't have its intention, its deliberateness, and its focus. And so that that can get you in a lot of trouble, for relationship wise. Um, it can make you untrustworthy when your love is fickle like that. And so that's kind of how it was. I've always been that type to be a loving person, but when I didn't know my purpose, I think it was unfocused. Yep. Gosh. Man, you're on fire tonight. The questions are crazy. That's oh my gosh. Look, I can easily tell those who are great leaders and with the right impact and influence, they love in the right way. And there's a I don't think that you can lead in a super well manner without having that unconditional love. And that doesn't mean that you don't hold people accountable. That doesn't mean that you don't get frustrated. That doesn't mean that you don't engage in battles sometimes as a leader. But it has to be it has to be girded with, it has to be supported with a love of leadership and a love of leadership in people, and to see leadership come forth. And you're willing to do what it takes to facilitate that in the proper way. And people can tell, even when in the moments of constructive criticism and feedback, they can tell they are loved when you have the right leadership in place, because leadership is weaved in and out of that love, and vice versa. So to me, they are ingredients of the same. When you are fearless in your loving, I think it's leadership. When you have daring leadership, I think you have love all up and through there. So, yeah, I think my wife has said it best in that, her father wasn't there and my father wasn't there consistently. And I think he won by my presence and my constant and consistent presence. It's changed a cycle. It's changed his life. Like, he won't know what it's like to not have his father there, especially at the beginning. And then you think about I think about my involvement with him and showing him my vulnerabilities, showing him my weaknesses, letting him know, when I make mistakes, holding him accountable for being a great person and also being a great man, and responsibilities, giving him the responsibilities of a man, and showing him how to move like a man, showing him how to speak like a man, and letting him know that it's okay to love, and love fully, and not be ashamed of that. And so he'll have a completeness that both my wife and I didn't have.
Hi, I'm good. How are you? I deal with all ages. Yes. I think it's definitely the culture. It's the culture and society take on how men should convey love, how they should feel love. how they should act love. It's definitely the culture, and we need to change that culture because we also don't allow men to express that feeling of love. You know, as you were saying last week. Yes. And it's really important that we allow, because it's not just love, it's all facets of emotion. You know, it's sadness, it's grief, it's depression, it's all facets of emotion that men are not allowed to express.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I yeah, I think that men have a different we you men have a challenge to be providers, to be leaders. That's a lot of pressure. That that
You
is
know what's so great about
Go ahead.
her statement is that she said yes, it's difficult to be a man, and there's no qualification afterwards. Like it's the statement just it's just there, and it's nice to know from an empathetic and sympathetic standpoint that there's a realization that it's difficult to also be a man, and that's I applaud that and appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. You're welcome. Yes. Go ahead. No. Do you remember the Mad Men series? Did anybody watch that?
Mm.
There are there are many facets of the 50s and the 60s and how difficult it was for women, but also how difficult it was for men. And to be the providers and to have that pressure. It's still here. It's still here now.
Mm.
Yes, and I think that also yes, there's we've talked about this a lot that um just being a single parent and being a single father, even with child support and being involved in your child's life, I mean, there's a double-edged sword for men, I find, in this respect. and it needs to be spoken up more of.
That's good. Hmm. 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 Or and no and oh, there's a lot I need to say here. Okay, um, the and we end up chasing the wrong thing. So I'll put a hole in that. I want to go back to something that Ryan said about being relevant. Blab is it can be the best and the worst in that you get a lot of immediate and direct feedback from people on Blab, and you can become a Blab star very quickly. But it can also feed the ego in a wrong way. And if you have the void of not having love as your foundation, you can end up chasing the validation of this fame on Blab. You can end up chasing the validation of infamy. You can end up chasing the validation of likes on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, and those things. Like it's just an endless hole that you will continue to pursue until that void is filled with faith, and that's really where I want to take it. If I answer for myself about where I go to get love, like I first go to God to get love. That is my source. That is my energy. That is my number one relationship. And then where I think the proper place to seek it is in your family, and then hopefully you then have the self-esteem and the basis to then pursue the right relationships where then you can find additional sources of love. So hopefully your family is providing you with a lot of love. Then your workplaces, I dare say, are providing you with love, and your community is really providing you with love. And then you are providing yourself with love. And when you have that, I think it becomes, when you have that self love, then it becomes easier to find love, the right love. Yeah.
Mhm.
Hmm. Down or up to that level of love.
Mhm. Mhm.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. No doubt, I'm using that one. Mhm. Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. And I think he spoke a wealth of truth in what he just said. And can you just imagine the amount of people that um, go through life being unawakened like that, and being asleep to the fact that we all have the ability to create wealth, and we don't use ourselves to our maximum capacity. We don't realize the purpose of why we're here, and we don't teach each other the purpose of why we're here. And you got to think, if we're not teaching each other the purpose of why we're here, we are simply not loving each other enough, or we're not loving each other at all. Because when you do love someone, when I love someone, my intention is for them to be everything that they were created to be. And Ryan said something crucial earlier when he was talking about having to be all these different roles and all these different things for different people. Like, we should be trying to get to one person. That's what we should be striving to do, trying to get to be one person. And we spend all of life trying to be everything to everybody. How could we find love like that? Much less find ourselves trying to be 200 different people to 200 different situations. It's just not going to work. And then we repeat that cycle over and over again. And we question why our families aren't together. We question why we're not together as a people and why we can't bond, as Ryan was saying, why we can't build something great, why we can't hold on to the wealth that we can easily create. Man.
Hmm.
True, because they haven't found Ryan. I'm sorry to cut across you, brother. They that our tanks are empty because we haven't found love yet. Because love hasn't been planted in us, and we haven't found it. Two different things. And when we walk the earth like that, we stay empty, and then we stay chasing. We stay hungry. Then when we run across a little bit of love and a little bit of validation, like Blab, like any form of social media, then we gobble it up in excess because we're trying to fill a void that wasn't filled long ago and from the beginning.
Mm.
Hmm.
I'm very curious. Yeah, I'm very curious. Okay. Mhm. My father, my father was a very loving man, a very loving man.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's major.
Hmm.
You know what happens when we are absent of love, and you just click something on Dr. Vibe, like our hearts become hard, and that is one of the worst situations that we could absolutely be in, because when your heart becomes hard, you play hurt, you play injured, and sometimes you play hurt and injured for the rest of your life. And you don't witness it, but everybody around you, everybody that you meet, even complete strangers, see the absence of real, true love in your life. And you begin to act out in different ways. You begin to systematically, in my opinion, destroy yourself when you don't have love. You clearly don't see and find your purpose, and so you spend time wandering aimlessly in the earth, trying to find your place, not knowing that you have a place, and then looking for your place in the wrong people and things and situations. And again, you are systematically killing yourself when you don't have love, and when love hasn't been planted in you. That and I do think, not to give a preamble to the next blab that we will do about love, but like love is like it is the most powerful weapon and guard that you could possibly have. It is the most powerful cure all that you can have. It is the most powerful resource, and people mistake it and think that love has a limit, and it doesn't. Even when you're hurt, it doesn't have a limit. Even when you're hurt, you don't fall out of. If you are in love, you don't fall out of love. You are just severely hurt. And we got to know the difference, and we got to attach love to everything that we do. I'm telling you, it works. I'm telling you, it works.
And I remember someone saying once that when you leave a relationship, you should leave with love, and you should leave still in love. That way you heal properly. You heal properly, you move forward properly. You can move forward.
That word heal is major.
Mhm.
Ryan,
Mhm.
Ryan, I'm getting ready to ask you a test question, brother. So how, if you love her, how did you fall out of love with her? But something happened before. I'm just challenging you on this. Something happened before you actually started to seek. It's like being on a job, and a lot of times being in HR, what I do is stay interviews, and with our most talented people in employees, I say, if you left, what would make you start looking? Like, what are the present conditions that make you unhappy and may make you want to go for what you think are greener pastures? So what happened before that to make you abandon, let's just say, and challenge me if it's not the right word, what made you check out, abandon that in love position with her? Hmm. 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 Hmm.
Mhm.
Hmm. Yeah.
Mhm.
Look, I just wrote on the side, Dr. Vibe, to your point, protection does not equal control. And I think that is what we learn and pass on. And I coach it myself just in a different way. Like I say, learn to control your space, and it doesn't mean control at the expense of other people, but create a presence and don't be a victim. And I think that we have been victims. I think that we haven't. No, it's all right. It's all right. And I think that protection for many of us means the ability to control a situation to the point where you feel like you're in control. And at that point, you're not pursuing love. You're actually pursuing the control. You're actually pursuing yourself, your ego, knowing that you're in control. And at that point, you're out of control. At that point, you're no longer looking at the people that you're trying to protect. You're actually trying to feed your ego. You're actually trying to feed your position and your validation. And you're moving away from love at that point.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
You know what? And you can tell because most people would call that man a pushover. Most people would call that man weak. But when you are filled with love, like that tech doesn't run out. Like that person always looks like they're on full of love.
My dad is like that. He's very much like that. I remember him staying up at night waiting for me to come home, even though, he knew who I was with. He knew where I was. He knew what time I was coming home. Mm-hmm. But he was a very loving man. He is a very loving man. And he taught me how to love, And yeah. And
you know what I picked up? I picked up from what you just said, in that love is it's possessive and freeing at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And the people that I love, they know that they're mine. Mm-hmm. Like they know that I rock with them. They know that I'm down with them. They know that I will be with them in the storm. I'll fight with them. I'll fight for them. But they also know that they have freedom to be who they were created to be. And I'm going to love them through their individual ups and downs, and through them having to go through being multiple people for multiple situations in search of being one person. Like, I'm going to love them unconditionally, like we said earlier.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Naturally soft. What does that mean? What's naturally soft mean? Because I could take that in a good way or a bad way.
What's the phrase I'm looking for? You have to pick your battles. To that extent, okay. You have to pick your battles. You have to know where to put your energies, where they are most valued. Because there's some things who men are naturally soft, you don't need to get into. But then when there are things involving justice and rights, then you need to get involved. And I think maybe a better judgment, if you see something and it hurts you, you need to get involved.
See something, say something, right?
Mm-hmm.
And let me add to Xanadu's question. I think I understand her a little bit more. And Xanadu, please pop me back if I'm not interpreting this correctly. But what I would advise men to do who are naturally soft when they want to display their ability to love and protect, one thing that's coming to mind is surround yourself with the right people and go where you are appreciated and not just tolerated. And I think you are able to find those circles, dare I say, circles of love, when you understand yourself more. Because the world there will be infinitely more people who will try to change that soft aspect of you than know how to deal with it and love it and nurture it and make way for it. So go where you are appreciated and not just tolerated. Surround yourself with the right people and have faith in the type of love that you have been given. And I would be dumb if I didn't say, like, you also got to develop a tough skin while maintaining a soft heart, and don't let your heart get hardened. And if you are in a position where you don't understand how to display your love, but you know you want to do it, get help. Get help.
Can I ask you, gentlemen, to hold on 1 second?
Yeah.
No problem.
Okay.
Thank you. Well, you know what? And a good example of that, in a biblical sense, is David. David played a harp, but he could battle with the baddest. And that's what I'm saying, that know when to exert. And I agree with you, John, too, that you have to have some tough skin, because if a man is not careful, life will kill him. Life will kill him. If you are not, can you guys give any tips on how a mother should nurture, strengthen a son who doesn't have a man in his life as he develops? Well, I think I think both you are good on this. And if you want me to add, it's getting deeper again.
That's a good one. One, like, vow to find good male relationships, one for yourself and for him, and watch good examples of male behavior and duplicate, not necessarily emulate, but duplicate some of that in your home. That you will never be able to teach him how to be a man, but I think it's because you're the intercessor in this regard, and you are the one. Like, you got to find and represent great male examples, and you got to be some of that balance, even though you won't be able to fulfill the total role. That's just the position that you are in, but you got to find that piece, whether that means a good solid relationship for you, or great solid relationships for him, or a combination of both. And hopefully you are in a position then to do where you have healed from any hurt and pain and void that you have experienced, and you're able to let some of that through to him and give him the portal for those relationships. And you gotta give him the freedom to mature and be who he is going to be, and not rush him to manhood.
Well, you know what? It's a great conversation. Because Skias Jones says that's a blab to itself. I've copied down the information, because I think that is a conversation all to itself. So that's the way I'd come up with the conversations. People bring subjects that need a standalone. And that is a standalone conversation. I know, Ryan, you want to add.
Yeah, I'll add to that. I'm a product of that situation. And the community came in and literally saved me, because my mom nor my dad could save me. You know, they didn't have the power. They didn't have the credibility. You know, because I think when kids grow up in those kind of homes, they blame the father, they blame the mother, they blame a lot of people for their circumstances. And at that point, you don't have, like, parents don't have the credibility to show the kid, how to love or to give them the things that they need to survive. And I think that mentorship is very important. And I think encouraging youth to find mentors when they see something that they want to do. It's like, hey, mom, I want to be a guitarist. Find a male in your community that does that, so that they can see in, like, where it's relevant for that boy, right? Because I'm not saying that women can't teach or raise a man. I mean, I was raised by women, but I only started becoming a man when I saw a man that looked like me, that or was doing something that I wanted to do. That's when I started becoming a man, because when I was talking to them, I saw how a man thinks and how he approaches certain situations. And it's all about relevancy, because I want to, you know, I'm not saying that a woman couldn't have done that, but women are different. And we have, like, we can't, you know, like, I'm not being politically correct here, but women can't be the man and the woman in the relationship. They can't be the man and the woman in parenting. You can't be the father and the mother. You are a mother. Embrace being a mother. But, you know, kids still need a father, or they need a male figure that they can look up to. Because then if they don't have that essence, then they're looking for it in other ways. And that's where we get into gang violence. And I did a lot of talking and a lot of speeches in regards to that, because I was in that situation, you know, and we need positive male role models. And one of the things that my role model said to me, and that stuck, was that you're destined for greatness. Like, how powerful is that? For someone to say to you, I don't know you from Adam, and says, you know what? I see something in you. You're destined for greatness. Because then that gives you, like, oh my God, you mean I can get out of this situation? You mean I can do anything that I put my mind to? Because that for me worked for me. And I think that's what I would encourage mothers to do. It's like, you know, you can do whatever you want to do. Let me help you. Let me facilitate. The mother can't necessarily take you all the way. She can support you. She can be a guide. But get your kids in front of mentors and people. Get them in front of people that inspire them. Because then it's over.
You know what? Let me just stand on Ryan's shoulders in that regard. And he alluded to something that I just want to bring forth to the forefront. You know, this is why parenting is such the crucial role. And I think that there are a lot of workplace issues that could be fixed if we repair the parenting in the household. Because I'm going to tell you, and I bet you Moms Winning can attest to this fact that, like, people come to us damaged in the workplace constantly. And if people understood how to properly parent, another way, plant that foundation, plant the right seeds in their children, nurture the right thing, heal themselves, then I think that that would spread right there. That would spread, and that people would be healthy overall, and that people we would know how to duplicate the same. But our parenting is jacked up, and again we're back to, when your parenting is jacked up, when your foundation is jacked up, when you don't have a home to go to, you look for parenting and you look for your home in everything else, in bad relationships, in drugs, in gangs, in self-destruction. You know, I could go on and on. And that's the thing that we have to change.
You know what, John? You are the man, because the lady that's on the screen now, I can't get a hold of her. And you just dropped her name, and look at you, flies on. I need you as an agent, man. You just came on like boom. John Haynes mentions Moms Winning.
She knows the spirit that's here, so she had to come on and add to it.
Yeah, that's right.
What's up, lady?
What's going on?
Hey.
Glad to have you here.
You know, Dr. Vibe, sometimes I'm like, am I going to get on or am I going to go to sleep? And you always make me stay up way past my bedtime. So
okay, I'll start my blabs earlier.
I'm not going to get on. I'm not going to get on. I couldn't agree more with John. What's new? There's so many thoughts that I have, but one of the points I do want to mention, to go back to like this question of why don't men show love. What I've noticed, right, is the first relationship is mom. And this might have been talked about in part one, and I did miss part one, but that shows up in a romantic relationship. So, right, whoever women date, you're basically dating whatever that relationship was with mom, good, bad, or indifferent.
Word.
And as life continues, right, we are all, once we mature and grow up, we're all presented with crossroads. Shout out to Bone Thugs and Harmony. But we get to these crossroads where we can say, you know what? I don't have to continue as I have lived, and I can make a change. I can find the tools to do better. And whether that be therapy, whether that be mentoring, whether that be whatever, your church, whoever you feel comfortable with, but get the right tools to make a better life for yourself, right? So for example, you could be a man who's had a terrible relationship with mom. You get into a relationship and you realize you're not equipped, whether emotionally or maybe there's even more severe damage done, but you can get help for that. You're at a crossroads and you can choose a better life for yourself. Or that's really scary for a lot of people. You just figure out how to continue to sustain yourself, right? And live with what you have and just deal with it and deal with the fallout relationships, the broken relationships, the broken families, from all that. So to me, that's just kind of my 2 cents and what I've been thinking about. And just to your point, John, it does show up in the workplace. The workplace is just like school, right? Like I work at a school now and I see kids, they deal with such an incredible amount of stuff at such a young age. It would be hard to see for a human, for a grown adult to see somebody, their parent being murdered. But like I have 10-year-olds who have seen that, right? And they don't even know how to process it yet. It hasn't even fully been verbalized yet, right? So they deal with all this stuff at school. And then when we get into the workplace, it's just kind of like, we just grow up in society and we go from school to work. It's the same people dealing with the same stuff. As a society, as a community, I think we're here to be that light for others. Like John had mentioned earlier, love is the most transformative energy in this world.
That's a better way of saying it right there.
So that can, I do believe, heal all. That doesn't mean you don't need to love from a distance on people, right? Side note, asterisk. But that, that's my 2 cents.
I think that.
Mom's winning.
What she does.
Rocking.
That's what she does.
Just like
That's what the Easter Bunny does.
I cannot.
So let me ask, Mom's winning, working in the educational field that you are in now, how concerning is the lack of love boys are getting? Because if they're not getting it when they're in the school age, I don't know where it makes it more challenging. I won't say they won't be able to.
No,
but it makes it more challenging.
You're right.
As they go on their journey. Why aren't the boys getting love?
So you're right. So our school is still growing. So the oldest kid we have maybe it's like 10 or 9, but we immediately say, if these boys of color, especially if we don't get around them really quick, society is going to eat them up. Because, I mean, right, walking down the street is not like me walking down the street, right? So, and those are just the facts, especially in New York City. So, it's the parenting. A lot of what we see is the parenting. I know, like one kid, for example, who comes to my mind, like his mom, single mom, they're doing the best that they can, to be honest. They really are. They're trying to hold down a job and also answer our phone calls about their kid acting up at school or their kid being sick at school. So then they have to leave work and then they're like on probation at work, trying to keep their kid in school. And their kid is acting up at school because they just want more time with mom because mom's always at work. And so it's, I think it ends up being a cycle. And so parenting is a big thing. Like, and that student that I'm thinking of, his mom always brings him to school late every day, and doesn't even walk him upstairs, which is what you're supposed to do. So I always see him coming up by himself, and I'm like, "Hey, where's your mom?" "Oh, she's downstairs. She had to go to work." right? So just like the little things. And every time I see her, she has a smile on her face, but she looks very tired.
Boom. Okay. So think about the visual representation of what Cynthia just said. Like, you have a child who's not receiving the right amount of love, not the proper love, not a foundation of love. And clearly, when you trace back, when you peel the onion, you see that mom is missing love somewhere. And then I bet you if you peel that onion, you see love absent somewhere. And all of this stuff continues to cycle, like she said. And when do we stop? Like, when do we choose love and be daring in love and pursue love at all costs? When do we do that? When do we opt for love? We don't.
There almost needs to be like a safe haven for, whether we kind of mentioned this already, but like single moms or single dads or whatever, anybody who needs like male role models or mentors for their kids, right? Like, I think for me, I'm strategically already thinking about the male figures that I want my girls to have in their life due to the absence of their dad, right? Because I'm like, hey, I get it. I wasn't raised with my dad, but we're going to just stop this generational curse right here where it started. And we're going to do something new and different this time around.
Let me ask then, in order to start showing, and you know what, we're focusing right now on just the younger men.
Mm-hmm.
It's a whole other thing for older men. And it may be even more challenging for men who are farther along in the journey.
Yeah, because I think that when, what my mentors taught me when I was a young teen, they taught me survival. They taught me how to deal with people. I used to wear a hat and would cover my eyes so you couldn't see. My male mentors taught me to look people in the eye. My dad around that time taught me how to give a handshake. Because in our culture, a handshake, if it's flimsy, that means something's wrong with you. Like being confident and being confident in your own skin. My mentors taught me how to dress. It wasn't that, hey, dress in a tie, go and get a job. But they taught me to dress for the occasion, be a gentleman. I used to eat like a prisoner, put my hand over my food, and I wasn't even in prison yet. She taught me how to eat and taught me how to respect others. So all these, we need men in our lives to teach us survival. Because if we don't, as men, we're Mr. Fix-It. We'll fix our own solution on how we survive. And then if it works, then we hold on to it and we clinch onto it. And that is our safe haven. So if anything goes out of whack, we go back to our original ways on how we made our money, how we survive, how we feed ourselves, all of those things. So it's really hard to break a man when he later on in his life, because that his way was the way that he was able to survive, because no one else was there to teach him. So why are you going to come into my life and teach me now? Like, what's the deal?
I love you. Before continuing, always mattering brings up a conversation. Part of loving is knowing you're worthy of it. If you can't accept it for yourself, and putting all the worthiness is bringing the money to the table, it's hard to give love, to allow yourself even to take the time to appreciate the ones you love.
Totally.
Can I also mention, in the education system, there is a lack of male teachers and male teachers of color.
Even more.
It makes a difference because just like work, that, we have to deal with it. School's the same way. They're like the second parent. So every time I go to a parent teacher conference, I'm like, thank you, because you are an extension of me to my children. And that's the truth. They deal with all the issues during the day. They have to help them learn. I mean, they are an extension of parenting.
Look, you both
So
are
then
killing
it's like,
it.
who's counseling our kids 2/3 of their life when they're in school?
You know what? And this is why I've been talking with Xanadu on the side, and she's been being very transparent in her situation, and I love her for it because it's just helping someone. And this is why I think I'm called to help adults, because I think if I help adults repair and heal, then our kids will be safe. Then our kids will get what they need. Like, there's so many people who invest their programs and their monies and resources in the future when it's not here yet. And we need present help. And I'm not saying that don't have child focused or kid focused programs. We need those, but even more so, we need our adults to repair, because if our adults repair, then they'll start teaching our kids the right thing. And the second point, which Mom's winning, was she made it come out of me in that we look at love and trust in the wrong way. Like, love and trust should be given proactively. They're not earned right off the top. Like, they're given proactively. And the reason that we don't is because we stay hurt constantly. And then when we are hurt, then you earn the love back. Then you earn the trust back. But you're supposed to come to the situation giving love and trust. And when that doesn't happen, you automatically see who's hurt, who's playing hurt. You automatically know that you're facing a hell of a mountain in that relationship from first step.
Yeah.
So.
And I was going to add to that, just in the same tone, when you think about parents at home, when they don't have that balance in their home, they don't have, I think that the biggest impact that you can have on your child is being consistent and having a routine. Every day, 7 o'clock, it's bath time. Every day you come home, it's homework time. Every day you do this. Every time we get in the car, we talk about how your day was. We have that conversation. Every day when we come home, because one of the things that we used to do when we were kids, we would sit down with our family and eat as a family. Now we're eating in front of the computer. This one's eating over there, and we're not having those conversations. So I think the biggest thing that you could do for kids, for the young kids, is to make sure that you have consistency and you have a routine so that they get used to, because kids want the routine. They may not want it at the beginning, but they crave for it. They want that structure, because when you fall off and you don't give them that structure, then they start creating their own routine. Because they can't rely on their parents. They have to be able to look at their parents and rely on them. Because then when they go to school, they have more confidence.
And here's something else that I'll mention is that as parents, we're very sensitive about our shit, right? Just like Erica says, right?
That's right.
It's an area of expertise that nobody ever gives you a degree for or whatever. But when we get there, we're like, don't try to tell me what I'm not doing well, right? And I can tell you from experience, when things bubble up at school and we try to politely, make a call and say, hey, this came up, such and such said this, I'm in complete defense mode. It's a natural reaction for us to say, I just think it's human nature, even without kids. I'm all right, I'm good, I don't need help, thanks. No, I'm not bipolar. No, I don't need help. No, I don't need to go to therapy. No, I don't. I'm good. Thank you. Right. And so it needs to be cool to get help. It needs to be sexy to get better.
Word.
And just say, we're all hurting. We all need help. Let's get it together. Because the more we try to protect and lie to ourselves, thus lying to the world, we die. We're failing.
You're dead. You're dead.
Mom's winning. I love keeping you up late.
Like usual.
So here's a question then. Conversation piece. Are young boys being forgotten, and are men being forgotten?
I think when situations aren't easy, when there's a process people will opt out early because we don't have any resilience. We don't have any perseverance for the process. So the blanket answer is yes. We're being left. We're being forgotten, and young boys are being forgotten too, because there's not a silver bullet. There's a process that requires time for us to heal. And going back to what Ryan was saying, we talk about kids needing consistency. Adults need routine. Adults need consistency. If you look at processes in the workplace, if you look at re-engineering, creativity isn't best facilitated off of chaos. Creativity is best facilitated off of stability. Like it's creativity, consistency is a springboard for creativity.
Mm-hmm.
People don't see that, and adults need routine as well. How do you know what to trust, what to rely upon? I'm telling you, mark my words, consistency in addition to love repairs and restores a lot of relationships.
There you go.
Yeah.
Telling you.
So how do we make it more appealing
For men?
for, I mean, since that's the topic of tonight, but like to just like, but I mean, I would say people in general, but yeah.
How do you make it more appealing for men to love?
Or if there are barriers, to help to remove the barriers.
I think, and it's one of the things I say a lot, in order for some men to love, they're going to need to hurt. Unfortunately. And it's always interesting to see when a man is going through a hurtful time, how he responds.
Right.
So unfortunately, I think some men are not hurt enough to start to love.
Right.
And I think that, we also have to be good examples too. I think that you can't preach to people. You can't, not everybody's receptive to positive energy, but you don't have to change yourself. You just have to just beam the light, and who sees the light and who wakes up and opens their eyes to your energy and can feel your energy and can hear your energy, they will flock to you in their time, because our brains don't forget. We may be hard today, but sometimes
men have good memories. Just women a lot of times it said, sorry to interrupt, it says ladies have good memories. Guys have good memories. Believe me, they don't forget.
Yeah. So I think that we just need to give men time, but we need to continuously show love and support and be there when they're ready for them to come around, because it's really hard to hit past conditions and preconceived notions and biases towards things.
Mom's winning. I'll actually take it to a different road on the street or in the city. And I've said this periodically on different blabs. And this is a question that may freak men out. But I've said this to men before. I say, how's your heart?
Yeah.
And I don't mean, and they look at me, oh, I work out. I can do this. I'm not talking about that heart. How's your heart? How's your don't even say the emotion, just how's your heart? Just, I'm not talking about that. They're going to look at you, and you'll be able to tell where that man is in his journey of loving himself.
There you go.
And I challenge, I put that call to action out to everyone who's watching this live or on repeat. I am sure there's at least one man out there, doesn't matter what age, you should ask that question to. And just look at his reaction, and you'll know how either full or how empty his love tank is.
Yeah, and to that point, if you're asking the question again about, how do we show love and how do we make love sexy, I think we have to be relentless and fearless in showing it.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, I can't impress it enough. Like, we have to heal. Because when you heal, like it speaks volumes non-verbally. Like you can see and feel healthy people. Like you can sense them,
Yeah.
and you're attracted to them. You're attracted to what they have, and that's a sexiness all in and of itself. That's a sturdiness. That's foundational. So we gotta heal, and we have to love fearlessly.
You know, and I'll also add to that in regards to, and this is an interesting thing because many people get what's the word I'm looking for? Many people get the view of men being courageous, but I'm sure that many people agree when you show love, it's a risk. And there are a number of men that will take risks in other areas, but they won't take the risk of showing love, which means there's something not right with their core.
Yeah.
Right?
And are we
That
really
they're-
taught to take risks, or are we taught to play it safe?
There you go.
Right.
Because you don't find love in playing it safe. You don't hold love in playing it safe. You don't give love without there being imminent danger. You know, you don't give love without there being a chance of losing and without sacrifice.
You know what? Always Mattering says something good. We're taught to survive.
I mean, and also, what is the socialization of men versus women? Jay-Z wasn't saying big pimping to girls, was he? You know, so I mean, society, when you're like in high school or even elementary school, I mean, that's when the seeds are planted. Like,
I say, Mom's winning. I got a question. Do you got a mixtape? You're
I
dropping.
should have one though. Let me tell you. Let me tell you, I should have one. I'll send you the playlist.
I think we need to see this.
Yes, we do. We need to get on the.
Don't
We need to
I'm
get
from
on
Chicago. I definitely got a playlist. I could probably name a song within the first 7 seconds. Most songs, yes. Sometimes I beat musicians, but I don't know how to play it. I don't know how to play an instrument yet, but
All right.
anyway.
That's all right.
But so
That's
boys are socialized differently. But I will say, just from my own personal experience, you had mentioned something different earlier before, Dr. Vibe, that basically you know a guy, you know when a man truly loves himself, like you can spot it out. And I guess my upbringing was pretty different, but I didn't learn that until my last relationship. So, so all the relationships up to then, I mean, they were all good. You know, everything seemed fine. Everybody seemed like in good health mentally. Except this last relationship, I kind of, made myself vulnerable, but that's not hard for me. I take the risk because I'm on a journey serving a higher power. So it doesn't faze me when people fall out or fall in to my life. But basically I couldn't tell right away because there was a lot of good talking, good intellect, high intelligence, right? So it's like, this person came like, kind of like, here's my story. I've already kind of, here's my testimony. Like it was just that deep, right? Like just really profound. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Get it. Like everybody deserves forgiveness, right? Everybody gets grace and mercy and stuff like that. But it wasn't the case. And this is where I think it's good and wise for women to really wait, and just let it prove. Let things be proven. Right? Don't jump the gun with folks, and women do it all the time. But jump the gun right away and want to make something out of nothing, or it's good in one area and then you try to make it good in all areas, but it really hasn't proven itself to be, right? So that's when I realized, oh, okay, this isn't a person who truly loves himself. And as I was talking to other girls, you know, at the time and other girlfriends, they've had different experiences. Some have had fathers, some haven't. And I was like, oh, okay, I could get it now. Like, I understand like the difference. You can like weed out the people who have that false perfection, you know, and then you have people who are like, here are my mistakes for real though, you know? So, that was just an interesting kind of like life data point for me when it comes to men and them learning how to love. Like, some of them can, you know, have softer sides, but it doesn't mean that there's a real mature, in-depth love of self there.
Ooh. Well said. Well said.
Ooh. Fake lovers.
Yes, exactly.
Well, I think on that point, we gonna shut the recording. I think no, because that's a whole. There's about 3 different conversation pieces that are up for future chats. Now, Askia Jones, you said you had a question. Did you want to ask it on air, or did you want to type it, or is it a question?
I'll jump on.
No, just hold on. Jump on. I'll see what Askia wants to do, because he said he had a question. Now, do you want too long to type? Okay, you know what I'm gonna do?
Come on.
No.
Come on.
We all can type like 45 words a minute.
Ryan, I'm gonna jump you out, and I'll get Askia on. All right? Are you cool with that?
Yeah, sounds good.
Thank you for your kindness and patience. Okay, hold on here. I gotta do something here.
This is a little dangerous, you know. We might be up another hour.
Like,
the 3 of us together again.
Okay, and boom.
First of all, all I have to say is Dr. Vibe, John, Mom's Winning, Ryan, Xanadu, everybody. This is an epic blab. You know, Dr. Vibe, I don't like to come in, right?
No, you don't.
And I just...
You don't look like you don't like to come in.
Well,
you look ready.
It is different.
You look ready.
What's up, Danielle?
This is the question, though, I wanted to ask, because I experienced something with my nephew today that, dude, I'm sitting here listening to this blab, and I'm just sitting here like, my sister calls me up today. She says, my nephew's 6 years old. He has a really, really estranged relationship with his dad. Matter of fact, it's pretty much non-existent. And that's like my little dude, right? That's like my little dude. So she calls me today and she says, guess what? And I said, what? She said, I've never heard Kai with my nephew say anything like this before. I said, what did he say? I'm thinking he probably said something bad. She said, I had to call his dad to kind of, you know, take care of something. And then normally he never wants to talk to Kai. He never wants to talk to his son. And so she says, but this time he asked, could he talk to Kai, his son? So she hands him the phone and she says, Kai, the phone. And she said, he's 6 years old. And she says, he says, who is it? She says, it's your dad. He grabs the phone and he says, on the phone, he says, which one? Now, I was like, okay, what's going on? And so she asked him, she was like, so she talks to him and she's like, she don't even know what this is. Like, why would he say that? And who is this other guy? So she asked him, she's like, what did you mean when you said which one? He said, I was talking about my uncle Askia. Now, this is why this is the question that I have. And this has been an epic blab. And the question, and the title is, why don't men show love? I want to ask, is it that men aren't showing it or they aren't expressing it? And the reason why I use the word express is because once we begin to express it, it goes beyond this whole show and prove thing, but it goes into how we enunciate it, how we articulate it, how do we use our words. My nephew and I, we have an amazing relationship. He always hear me say I love him. Always. He's never heard that from his dad.
I think you answered your own question. And I heard it. I'm glad I shut up because I heard it when you first started talking. It is in your representation. And it's not only in the words that you say, but in your nonverbals. It's in how you move. It's your presence. It's your giving. It's the eye contact. It's the connection that you make. All things that happen before a single word is ever said. And that's why he sees you as dad.
Yeah. And you know, I've mentored for probably close to 20 years. And there was one issue, I think I shared this with Dr. Vi. There was a young guy, and when I first met him, he had tattoos. He's like 17, 18 years old. Tattoos on his face, on his neck, on his arm. He's still in high school. And he comes to me and we're talking. And I met him when I went to a high school. I was speaking at an IT department. And when I went and talked to him, he pulled me to the side. He had kind of, you know, shared some really intimate things. And he's like, man, I really want to, you know, talk to you. Never met him before. And so as I'm beginning to as we're talking, the first thing I said, well, tell me about yourself. You know, tell me your story. I'm a brand guy. So that's what I always ask people, like, tell me your story. And the first thing he does is true story. He begins to go on his body and he shows me tattoos. And he shows me one when his brother died. He shows me another when he lost his mom. He shows me another when we went through this horrific experience. His entire narrative of how he expresses himself is on his body. How he shows his whole entire story. And the reason why I asked that question is because I think one of the things that we as men don't hear are the words. Men are taught to show love. We show it through paying the bills, right? Some of us. We show it through, you know, doing those manly duties. That's how we've been taught. We've been taught to be a man, be responsible, you know. So that's how we've been groomed to show love, is through action. The whole show and prove. Prove to me that you love me. Okay, I'll prove it. Because there's a saying that says your actions speak so loud, I can't hear a word you say. So we feel like we have to keep showing and showing and showing. So that's why I wanted to ask that question. Men are showing it the best way they know how to show it, but they haven't learned how to express it. They haven't learned how to tell that young guy, I have a god brother. We don't get off the phone without me saying, I love you. My best friend, we don't get off the phone without saying, I love you. My little nephew, even when he's bad and he does something he shouldn't do, after we talk and we get through it, the first thing I say, matter of fact, he beats me to it now. When kids hear it, because the problem with young men today is that, and I kind of tapped it a little bit in the comment, they're being more reviewed than recognized. We're constantly reviewing them.
Judging.
There you go. Analyzing them, critiquing them. But when you do that, they're still they don't feel visible. They don't feel as though they're being seen for who they really are. Only time they're visible is when I do something. I act up.
Sure.
Good or bad. And so they don't feel recognized. And therefore they know how to get recognition a certain way. This is what I have to do to be recognized. And I think I know this blab is probably going to go into about part 20 because it's so epic. But what I've experienced with young men and what I've experienced, look, I'm gonna be real with you. I grew up in a single parent home. My mom raised me. my dad has passed. I didn't have a relationship with him. Never heard the words "I love you" from my dad. My grandfather, that's all I heard. Growing up, that was like my dad. My godfather, the reason why he and I are so close, because he just texts me every once in a while, "Hey man, just want to let you know I love you." That's my godfather does. Just every once in a while, just say, "Hey man, you on my mind today. Just want to let you know, hey man, I love you, proud of you." Kids need, when you are hurt, when somebody hurts you, when they do something, you begin to heal first through words.
Totally.
John, I'm sorry. Cynthia, I'm sorry. Dr. Vibe, I'm sorry. That's when the healing begins. Healing doesn't begin me bringing you flowers, bringing you candy, buying you a car. Those are action. That's me. I'm just gonna no. Healing begins when you hear that person look at you in the face and say, "I'm sorry. I wronged you, and I got to make it right."
That's right.
And when kids begin to hear the words, man, I'm telling you, look, John expressed his faith. Cynthia expressed her faith. Then if the faith that you all expressed, I already know because I share the same faith. Then we understand the power of words.
Yes.
We understand that the power is not in life or death; it's in the power
of the tongue.
Mm-hmm.
That's where healing begins. That's how we begin to express ourselves with look, I have 3 daughters, and a day don't go by. It's a random day. Wake them up, text them in the morning. They're all adults. They're 20, 21, and 24. So I text them. I let them know constantly. Love you, love you, love you, love you, love you. Even my son, love you, love you. My stepson, love you, love you, love you, love you, love you. My nephew, love you, love you, love you, love you. They got to hear those words. When they hear their father say that, then a man, he grows up saying, "There's nothing wrong with me telling my homeboy I love him. There's nothing wrong with telling my girl I love her." So now when we get married, I'm not going to be telling my homeboy I hit that, I tapped that, I beat that, I stabbed that. You see what I'm saying? We use violent terms for lovemaking. Violent terms.
Exactly.
Think about that. Man, you hit that? Yeah, I hit it. Man, you beat that? Yeah, I beat it. You got rappers saying I stabbed it. Literally. Stabbed it. Oh, talk about you having a sexual relationship with a woman. You're using your term of endearment is things you do with a gun and a knife. These are words. So I think in order for us to begin to start showing love, we got to start hearing it so we can articulate it, so we can enunciate it. Then we begin to say it. Then it's like, okay, it doesn't become this foreign term anymore. You know, my nephew calling me his dad, I'm like, dang, that's crazy. But I know why. Because when he gets in trouble now, and at the end of my, okay, what are we going to do next? Before I get off the phone, now he beats me to it. Love you. He's never heard that from his dad.
Dude, you up here acting silly.
Right.
You need to sit down somewhere. Look. What you just dropped, it is the expression of, and I firmly and wholeheartedly submit to what you said. But I was looking at your example as you were talking, and the thing that is evident to me in all of the relationships that you named, which is so crucial, is consistency.
That's it.
And maybe even more important, your presence.
That's it.
Is there. And your presence, I would argue that your presence is felt even before you say the I love you.
That's it. That's it.
And that, to create the presence of love, is serious business. That's rock solid right there. Yeah. Like your people in your circle, I would bet, know that they don't have to go anywhere else for love.
No, that's it. That's it.
Not one single other place
That's it.
for love. And that's a presence that you have created. And that's what love does. That is a representation of love. And it makes way for the words that you speak. It makes way for someone's heart to be softened to receive an I love you. That's what that does. That's you killed it right there.
Nah, man, this is an epic blab, man. I tried not to get in this seat, man, because
he keeps on
Stop
saying that.
I literally tried not to get in this seat because how emotional I got listening to everyone, because hearing my nephew say today what he said. And I was that kid. I was that kid. And with me, and the reason why I mentor today is because for me, it's my way of trying to help young men deal with rejection, abandonment in a way where I can, through my transparency, which is key, through my transparency and through my words, then I can follow those things up with action. I can follow those things up with action.
And you said another key word for a lot of men. How easy is it for men to be transparent? How is it easy for anybody to be transparent, but especially a lot of men? And again, that's evolved. That's part of true love, transparency.
I think that that speaks of, to Askia's point, to to Mom's point. It's like validation is so key. And I think validation gives us validation and acknowledgement gives us an avenue and a path and a comfortability and a foundation to express ourselves and to be comfortable with the strength of vulnerability, to be comfortable with appearing being weak, to be comfortable with in a position of healing. And when we give each other that space and that leeway, like, that relationship is limitless.
Yeah.
True.
So there's an article you guys made me think about. Cornel West. It's pretty. Let me see. I don't even know what the date. Oh, it's from like 2009. But he talks about the courage to love. And one of the questions he was asked was, let's see, is it difficult to be emotionally naked with women? And he says, yes, we brothers here in America wrestle with a profound rage. We have to be on the defensive all the time and ready for the next insult or assault. So it feels much more natural to pose or posture. When you're on the defensive all the time, it's very difficult to risk opening yourself up and being vulnerable. But at the same time, you say to yourself, I can't go through life in this posing posture without really loving or knowing what it's like to be free, because I'll never know me.
That's real.
Yeah. And I included the link on the side comments for further.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go back
it's
and
a
read
really
it.
good article.
I'm gonna tell you, to that point right there, that what you said is so monumental. What you read was so monumental, because I think my aunt, when I was 5 years old, I think she gave me one of the greatest gifts that she could give me, in that my family's a big jokester. Like, we tease each other, we go hard at each other all the time, and like, it's hard to come in my family if you don't have thick skin. Like, if you're not self-assured, like, it's hard. But and I was a very sensitive child, like very sensitive, like would cry at the drop of a hat. And when she pulled me aside one day and said, like, it's okay, we're just joking, we still love you, like, that to me, like, just shifted my shoulders in a different way and set me on a different path. And it gave me that foundation to where, like, I don't have to be on the defensive all the time, nor do I have to be on the offensive. Like, when people come at me, like, I know when the attack is there, and I know when people are hurt. And something just came to me. To that point, this is why it's so important to be able to read the heart, because then you see past people's defenses and them going on offensive, and them being offended and be able to get to the source of why they're hurting. And then you are able to respond properly to that person. And then you are able to respond with love because your foundation is set, you're set, you've healed, and now you know how to bring love to a situation that where you think that love is absent.
Yeah.
I think with that quietness, we're going to shut her down because, as usual, we could go on for hours. And, of course, Mr. Jones comes on and just drops the mic.
Nah.
Yeah, he did.
Great blab, man.
What he did.
This is epic, as always.
Well, I'd like to thank everyone who, first of all, came on in different stages. Hopefully I shouted you out or said hello and shouted you out via the text. Thanks to Ryan. Thanks you, Ryan, especially to allowing to come off and let Askia share his point. That's high praise. High praise. Thanks to John, who brought this conversation piece a few weeks ago, and it's into part 2. And Mom's winning. Thank you for staying past your bedtime. My apologies on that. I don't know, John, do we keep this conversation going or do we shift it up next week?
Dude, I think we got to shift it.
Okay, we're gonna shift it. I've got actually tentative conversation piece next week are men who were raised without a mother.
Yes.
Whew.
Men who are raised, and there are many men out there that were raised without a mother, but they don't get a chance to speak that journey. And how does that affect them in their lives and how they treat women? So hopefully we'll get some men on next week to share that, or the ladies will come on and share their stories, or men can share stories about other men that they know who have grown up without a mother, and how has that affected the lives positively, negatively, or in between. So before we let everyone jump off, Askia, thank you so much for coming in. You want to share any contact information?
I'm just happy to be here.
Okay. Mom's winning. How can people get in contact with you? And I love how you're doing blabs on the reg now, which is beautiful. And how are the kids?
They're outstanding.
Clearly.
You can go to momswinning.com and I'll have all the information there.
Good. And will we be able to get you one of these months to do another co-session with John about HR?
Absolutely.
Please.
That would be fun.
Good. Watch the email. It's coming within the next 24 hours.
Let's do it.
Okay. And Mr. Haynes, how can people touch base with you, man?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter and Facebook at Regeneration LBC, on Instagram at John Haynes III for John Haynes III, and I'm at about.me/John Haynes III, and author of Me in 4 Seasons, a journal for your journey of change, available on Amazon and Amazon Europe.
Nice.
Wonderful. Good stuff. Well, I am Dr. Vibe, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show. I'm also a certified empowerment coach. I always like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. I am jacked because there were so many people tonight that I had not seen either for a while or had never seen before come on the blab. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. You can follow me on Blab. Probably even better to follow me on Twitter. If you have 2 minutes of your time, I'd really appreciate it if you have to click on the link I'm going to put on the side here. It is a survey on either this show or if you've seen other shows. Would love to get your opinions on it. I'm going to end off this conversation piece with Twitter is up there. Dr. Vibe, email address dr.vibe at the Dr. Vibe Show. Also, you can go to the website. I'll type it in fast. I'm going to leave you with a quick quote after I type this slowly. Okay, there we go. That's the website address. Last quote for men and those who love them. The quality of your life is greatly dependent on those you call friend.
Indeed.
God bless. Peace to well. Keep the faith. See you next Tuesday night on the Men's Show. And in between, we'll be discussing men who were raised without mothers. God bless.